what is the best of all worlds that we can build.
Yeah.
And that's where we ended up building the form factor that we converged on, which was the dot. So the idea behind DoorDash Lab was to be sort of the creator of the next generation of innovation within DoorDash as it relates to automation, robotics, and autonomy. So those are
Hmm.
three sort of pillars. Along, obviously, AI is the thread that binds them all. As the number of deliveries on our platform keeps growing, we want to encourage all of these different modalities to participate on our platform, and ADP sort of is the orchestrator. The number of deliveries we're doing year to year has been growing about 20%. And
Yeah.
and by the way, we think we are barely scratching the surface of how many deliveries could be on the platform. So all of this, 2, 3 years ago was sort of an idea that we were working
Hmm.
on. Now this is not a pilot program anymore. It is
Right.
absolutely in production, full production.
So, before we jump into today's episode, I want to share a quick word from our partners at Terawatt. We all know the future of ride hail and autonomy is electric. New fleets are entering markets and need a base of operations, places to charge up and get back on the road. But they can't afford downtime, and that's where Terawatt infrastructure comes in. They take something complex and expensive, fleet charging infrastructure, and delivers, letting fleets focus on their core business of serving rides. Terawatt is building high powered charging hubs strategically placed right where ride hail demand is its highest. So think about 30 plus fast chargers in a central business district. Now that's a lot of power. Their sites are also designed to optimize AV fleet performance with 98% charger uptime, infrastructure for data offload, and thoughtful layouts that get vehicles in and out fast, all for a monthly fee. You can check them out at terawattinfrastructure.com, and we'll also leave contact information for the company in the show notes. All right, on to the episode. Ashu Rege is the vice president of DoorDash Labs at DoorDash. He previously served as SVP of software engineering at Zoox and held leadership roles at Nvidia, focusing on computer vision, robotics, and autonomous systems. Earlier in his career, he co founded and worked at startups in graphics and internet technologies. He holds a PhD in computer science from UC Berkeley and serves on the EECS advisory board. Ashu, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've been wanting to interview you for quite some time now. You spoke at our Urban Autonomy Summit in San Francisco and had some great thoughts, but today we get you all alone, all to ourselves. So we're really going to dive into everything that DoorDash is doing on the lab side and on the autonomy side, which I know is a lot. Before we dive in there, I have to ask you a question about your background because you worked at Zoox, you worked
Sure.
at Nvidia, which is apparently now, a top, not even AI, AV company, right?
I haven't, I haven't,
Ecosystem
I haven't
player.
heard of the company. Yeah. No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
did you foresee all of this happening? And talk a little bit about your background and how you made it to DoorDash.
sure. As you said, I got my PhD in computer science, Berkeley. I was also to go into academia, and then a friend of
Mhm.
mine actually came up with this amazing what I call error correction codes, and that sort of set me off completely into a different direction. We decided to do a startup together, and that was such an exciting world of
Yeah.
bringing technology to product. And since then, sort of that's been very important to me. I did a few startups, ended up at Nvidia. I thought it was going to be a short stay. Ended up
Mhm.
staying there forever, almost 15 years. It's such a great company. Jensen is one of the truly amazing leaders. People are starting to see that now
Yeah.
with the success NVIDIA is having. But you can ask anybody who's been at NVIDIA, they'll tell you what Jensen truly means to that company and in general to the technology industry. It's a great learning experience. NVIDIA is basically a perpetual startup, so that was
Yeah.
also kind of nice continuation. Uh, and then I met some of the Zoox folk, and that was my passion. I did my PhD in robot motion planning, among other things, and so I ended up at talking to Zoox and joined them. It was a great run, 6.5 years. We built a lot of stuff, got acquired by Amazon, and then sort of actually DoorDash came calling,
Hmm.
and so one thing led to another, and here I am at DoorDash Labs.
Got it. So, what was it about DoorDash that excited you? And maybe talk a little bit about what DoorDash Labs is.
Sure. So one of the cool things about when we were having discussions about uh, whether I should join DoorDash or not, and it was Tony, our CEO, and Stan, our co-founder, took me out to dinner, and we talked about why was DoorDash getting into autonomy in the first place, and I'm sure a lot of people have been thinking about that question, right? And in the beginning, I was sort of I asked the same sort of question: Why are you doing this? There are so many companies in this space already back in 2021, and also the people have already made pretty good progress. So you're kind of starting a bit late here, and their answer really convinced me to join Labs. And the really it can be summarized in three short words:
Hmm.
product market fit. What Tony and Stan and the DoorDash team were seeing was, yes, there was a lot of interest in and activity around autonomy, and but a lot of it was driven obviously by the robotaxi, trying to solve for robotaxi to move people for ride hailing. On the delivery side, we had sidewalk robots, which were great. They're great in dense urban areas for very short trips because they're
Hmm.
constrained by the speed that you can go on a sidewalk. Their average speed is maybe 1 to 2 miles an hour. So
Yeah.
the distance, especially for restaurant deliveries, is pretty constrained. It works in, when the restaurants and the customers are pretty close together.
Right.
But a lot of DoorDash's deliveries are actually in suburban areas. And so we were, the thinking was, well, is there something that isn't a robotaxi? Because now on the robotaxi side, you kind of have the challenge that, if you're going to use something like that for delivery, well, first of all, you go talk to any merchant, and DoorDash is very focused.
Hmm.
They will tell you, yeah, I don't want to go out looking for the robot that's half
Right.
a block away, right? If you're asking the merchant to load the delivery. Same thing on the drop-off side. In fact, if you think about going to a single-family home, do you want the how how far are you willing to walk to grab your delivery, right? And so those are the kinds of considerations for us that were very vital. The other part was, do you really need a 2-ton vehicle
Hmm.
to deliver your burrito? And that's the kind of thinking was, okay, what is like if you, what is the best of all worlds that we can build?
Yeah.
And that's where we ended up sort of building the form factor that we converged on, which was the dot. The
Hmm.
other key observation was, you don't have to solve every delivery right of the beginning. And our goal wasn't to say, okay, DoorDash today does over 8 million deliveries a day in the
Oh, wow.
US. Uh, And you don't have to go, okay, can I build something that'll solve every delivery within this vast spectrum? You can go, can you take a certain section
Yeah.
of the deliveries, say, okay, that's where Dot thrives, right? So Dot, with the design point for us, Dot was dense suburban areas where you can deliver to single family homes. Dot cannot go up 10 stories and hand you
Got
your
it.
order. But what Dot can do is, also move it moves in the bicycle lane primarily and goes
Hmm.
up to speeds of 20 miles an hour, but it can also go on sidewalks.
Yeah.
And so that's really gives it this versatile uh, 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 skill set, basically,
Yeah.
where it can actually go for your pickup straight to the merchant's door, zip down a bicycle lane,
Yeah.
and bring you your delivery straight up to your single family home. So that's the Dot solution.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to learning more about the dot, and we'll share a photo of it too in the show notes. So I think most people have seen it by now, but just in case they haven't, and you are head of DoorDash Labs. So, I mean, I guess more broadly, talk about what is the goal and the kind of stated mission of DoorDash Labs. Is it focusing on the dot, or is it broader?
It's broader than that. So the idea behind DoorDash Lab was to be sort of the creator of the next generation of innovation within DoorDash as it relates to automation, robotics, and autonomy. So those are
Hmm.
three sort of pillars. Along, obviously, AI is the thread that binds them all. But as to what can be automated is a key part of what advanced technology can we bring to make the product experience delightful for our customers and very, very usable for our merchant partners.
Got it.
And so
And
that's
so,
what apps is all about. Yes.
got it. So dot would be, I guess, a big focus of DoorDash Labs right now. Are there other areas or verticals that are, kind of key focuses right now for DoorDash Labs?
Absolutely. So one of our observations was for, as I mentioned, there we do so many millions of deliveries a day.
Yeah.
So we want to encourage all the different autonomous modalities to thrive on this platform. So we built something we call the autonomous delivery platform.
Hmm.
And this is a key sort of think of like a platform that allows you to orchestrate all of these different modalities.
Yeah.
So in other words, how do you know which delivery is suited for example, a drone versus a dot or versus a sidewalk robot, or some
Mm.
deliveries are just much better off done by dashers.
Yeah.
And so you can go, okay, this a particular delivery is lightweight. It's a quick pharmaceutical order. that and it's in a dense urban area where which is
Hmm.
congested. A drone can literally fly, as the crow flies, and you can get it there far quicker.
Yeah.
Versus, a another kind of delivery might be perfectly well suited, as we mentioned, for sidewalk robots, which are great in dense urban areas, or you can have a dot in suburban areas, or it's a more complex delivery with higher sort of value that could be totally, could be done by a dasher.
Yeah.
So again, as the number of deliveries on our platform keeps growing, we want to encourage all of these different modalities to participate on our platform, and ADP sort of is the orchestrator. It is also very important to appreciate one important thing that is different with an autonomous solution versus a human. A robot, a human might drop off a delivery and then they know what to do next. They don't have to
Hmm.
be sort of told, go here or go there. But imagine you have a robot that's just finished a delivery, a dot, say, and now it's like, where does dot go next? It could
Yeah.
idle around the customer where it did the drop off, or it could head off somewhere else.
Yeah.
And where does it head off? And we say, oh, well, let's go to the next most popular destination till such point as you get a delivery.
Right.
But then if all dots converge on the same restaurant, that's not great for,
Yeah.
distribution either. So we have to come up, it starts becoming a pretty complex AI problem
Yeah.
to sort of create this optimization for all of these different entities that are participating in our system. So that's what
Yeah.
ADP does.
Yeah, no, I think that's very interesting. And obviously, DoorDash is probably best suited because you have all of these different partners and modes, right, to kind of
And we also
balance
know all
and
our deliveries, right?
orchestrate.
We
Right.
can replay all the deliveries we did
Hmm.
in the last. We have done
Yeah.
over 10 billion deliveries, so and we have
Oh,
all
wow.
of that data. So we can literally go and say, hey, what happened this last month in this
Hmm.
area? And that, can you imagine an AI that can just use
Yeah.
that data to really optimize the heck out of the system?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're doing 8 million deliveries a day. That's very impressive. And I mean, what does the marketplace look like? What are most 99% of those are done by human drivers? And then what are of the autonomous or semi-autonomous modes? How does it kind of break down and like kind of set the stage there? Where are we at? And I'm sure we'll talk about where we're going to in the future, but where
Yeah,
are we at today?
yeah. Without giving specific numbers,
Sure.
yeah, it's pretty early days, right? All of
Hmm.
these programs are starting to scale up now. With Dot in particular, we are very excited. We're definitely, looking into scaling up in the near future and starting to do. Dot's been operational and doing actual customer deliveries for well over about almost 18 months now.
Oh, wow.
So we have learned a
And where is it
lot during that.
operating?
So Dot today does deliveries in the greater Phoenix area, so the
Hmm.
cities of Mesa, Chandler, Gilbert, and Tempe. And as we sort of grow, we are looking both, how to grow in that general area as well as
Right.
outside and so on. So again, we are approaching that scale factor, but yes, it's still early days for this entire program. Yeah.
Got it. So when we think about the main modes, obviously you have the human dashers. I was one back in the day. We've
I
got the
heard, yeah,
dot. We've got the dot. We could talk about that later. We've got the dot,
yeah.
and then you also mentioned drone delivery and
Mhm.
sidewalk delivery. Are those sort of the four main? And I guess three of those would be sort of the three main autonomous or semi-autonomous categories that you're looking at when it comes to last mile delivery for DoorDash.
Yeah, those are the main categories.
Mhm.
If you know of something different, let us know. But yeah, if you think about in terms of the broad categories, absolutely, those are the main.
Got it. And how do you think about those three categories? I mean, it sounds like sidewalk delivery robots are for maybe dense city trips. The dot is for little longer ones. What are drone deliveries? Do you think each kind of option has its perfect form factor, or do they compete with each other a little bit?
They generally are actually pretty, nicely bifurcated. Obviously,
Hmm.
there's going to be some there's going to be some overlap here and there. But again, we're talking about in that world of 8 million deliveries today. We're talking about, there's plenty of room to grow. And the other
Right.
aspect of this whole conversation, it should be emphasized, is the number of deliveries we're doing year to year has been growing about 20%.
Mm.
So, there's just, as we, within my team, as well as all the other companies that
Yeah.
are on our platform, we are chasing a growing market. And so that's really pretty exciting for us that that's the situation we are in right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously you were brought on to lead DoorDash Labs. And I guess taking one step back, why do you think right now is the moment for autonomy in delivery, right? A lot of companies have sort of tried. You talked earlier about the passenger
Mhm.
transport, right? The robotaxis that are going on. Why is now kind of that moment where clearly DoorDash and, the company is investing a lot and, spending a lot of time and resources on this automation piece of the business?
Yeah, I think it's kind of in a way, like go back to that conversation with Stan and Tony back in 5 years ago. I think our we had a very astute uh, sort of notion of what autonomous delivery should constitute way back, even before I joined Labs. And
Hmm.
so I think that is really why we have sort of met the moment. I would say that autonomous delivery is now people are starting to realize how important and valuable it's going to
Yeah.
be. But I don't know that people were thinking of in those terms been back in 2021.
Hmm.
Also, like I said, there's the autonomous delivery part. And delivery is interesting, right? Because it's a three-sided marketplace. It's not ride hail, I think, in an odd way. The autonomy problem is more challenging on the ride hail side.
Hmm.
Obviously, the safety case has higher bar. You're going at much higher speeds in, far bigger vehicles, 2 tons
Right.
and so on. And so from a pure sort of can you do it point of view, autonomy was clearly the mountain to climb for
Hmm.
ride hail. The you could make the case like as described with Dodd, the safety case for us is definitely not as much as
Right.
onerous.
No
However,
passengers in the car either, right?
no
Just
passenger in the
freedom.
car. And the other big advantage, exactly, is that then you can be more conservative when you're driving, when you don't, a
Right.
burrito doesn't care if you slow down every now and then,
Yeah.
especially if you're driving to the side of the bike lane, so you're not impeding or interfering traffic either. And so
Yeah.
that's why we again think Dot is the perfect form factor.
And that is like
The
if someone was
Yeah.
going to complain about Waymo, that is one of the complaints they might have. It's, the routing or it doesn't drive fast enough. And you guys kind of eliminate
Or
that
if, yeah,
with the
if for
passenger.
whatever reason the AI gets stuck and it needs
Yeah.
assistance, then you're kind of blocking the entire road potentially. So there are definitely, and so all hat tip to Waymo for, they've cracked the nut though.
Yeah.
So I think everybody in the industry appreciates the human work they've done to set the stage. But I think the big observation for us was we don't need to necessarily go down that route for delivery. But delivery has its own challenges, which is, like I said before, it's a three-sided marketplace. So you
Hmm.
need pickup, you need drop off. A passenger, the burrito doesn't walk itself into the robot,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Passengers obviously do that with obvious ease. So that those are the kinds of nuances that make it very different from what delivery. I think, and that's one reason why back in 21 nobody was looking
Hmm.
at the delivery problem quite the same way. And in
Yeah.
an odd way, the delivery problem has this added complexity, which I think with ride hailing, I think people. I was at Zoox for a while. I think the feeling was okay. If you solve autonomy, you've literally cracked it open, right? You've kind of now you don't have to worry about pickups and drop-offs quite to the same degree. And so I think that's what attracted people to solving the autonomy problem. And I think maybe a lot of people felt the delivery was maybe too complex, and they're probably right. And if you look at the outcome of all of that, we are the only ones kind of in the space who are actually have as a delivery company are doing it as a full-on project.
Yeah.
And obviously we support drones and sidewalk robots and others, but ultimately that's going to be, from our point of view, a big sort of strategic win for us
Yeah.
that we have put in the effort to solve this problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you mentioned, you guys are one of the only platforms out there that's building its own first party delivery solution. I think a lot of companies have tried and
And built
tested
from
it
the
out.
ground up for delivery, right? That's, I
Yeah.
mean, and again, and I think the way we went about doing it was to not try to say, hey, we're going to build something that's everything for everyone. We're going to to focus on a
Yeah.
specific set of deliveries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and at the same time, like you mentioned, you also have partners in a lot of these other verticals. How do you think about that balance between partnering versus building in-house?
We want it to be all of the above,
Hmm.
and that's why the ADP. We could have designed a platform that was like, hey, we just worked with our robot and
Yeah.
with obviously and with our dashers. We didn't do that
Yeah.
because right from the beginning, our vision absolutely was that the pie is growing and is growing substantially year over year. So there's
Hmm.
going to be plenty of deliveries to be had. Second is the more partners on the platform, the more valuable the platform becomes, and the more different options we can give
Yeah.
to both our merchants and our customers as to what they prefer. And the third part is just the sheer number, right? I mean, if you think about getting to that level, even if getting to 1 million deliveries, and let's say a very well-tuned, well-oiled machine robot does 20 deliveries a day,
Hmm.
right? Which is pretty much it's constantly doing deliveries. You're looking at maybe of the order of 50,000 plus robots just to
Yeah.
do a million. And so, so those are all, we look at it and we don't look at it as either or at all, right? It's literally all of the above for us.
Got it. I mean, I guess, is there a risk though that, if you're building it on your own system, it makes external partners, or I guess you could even say human dashers, feel like less confident that they're getting a fair shot on the platform, or that, the dot might be getting the best orders? Or, I
Uh,
mean, is that probably fair?
it's a fair question to ask, but it's absolutely not the case
Hmm.
because first of all, like I said, right, Dot can do a certain subset of deliveries. It's a
Yeah.
pretty decent volume, but it
Yeah.
is nothing compared to the rate at which we are growing our
Gotcha.
platform
Like
to begin with.
20% year over year.
Yeah. And you could just do the arithmetic and you go,
Hmm.
how we're going to be short on the supply side here, not on the
Gotcha.
demand side. And
Yeah.
and by the way, we think we are barely scratching the surface of how many deliveries could be on the platform.
Mm.
I mean, the absolute numbers look great till you look at the population and you go, wait a minute, that's not a whole lot of deliveries per person per year. And so
Yeah.
that's why we think that delivery is where, there's going to be like a sort of a bloom for deliveries. I mean, if you think about it from another point of view, I think I made this point at the panel too, which
Yeah.
is uh, how many ride hails can you take in a day? It's constrained by the time in your life,
Hmm.
literally, right? And
Yeah.
so maybe two or three or very a day where you're just hopping from meeting to meeting, for example, maybe you do four or five. But the number of things that you can have delivered are only constrained by, your credit card, I guess, and how many things you want to buy. And that's
Yeah.
really those are very different numbers and they're fundamentally very different limitations. And that's why we really think that delivery is gonna, we're just getting started here.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of making the argument that I agree with, that really by automating these delivery options, it, not only expands the TAM. I mean, I don't know if you want to put numbers, 10x, 100x the TAM. And I think this is a big debate going on right now in the ride hail world that I'm more skeptical of because, like you said, right now, I feel like a lot of people are, taking Waymo instead of Uber and Lyft. And I think that's what a lot of the data is showing. People like the product, they're switching over, but it's not creating a lot of additional opportunities. It sounds like you believe that this is going to, I don't know, 10x, 100x or more the potential opportunities by removing that. But I guess it's by lowering the cost of delivery. Is that the main?
Yeah, just
Uh,
it's reducing the friction, and I think the pandemic taught people the value of their own time. So
mhm.
essentially, do you want to spend half an hour, 45 minutes going each direction, probably going to the mall for a few items,
Yeah.
or you can, have a dasher bring it to you, or or maybe a dot works just as well, depending on where you live. And so we absolutely think that the deliveries is just going to be growing. And yes, the more availability of delivery platforms, there's this economics law which says supply
Mhm.
is demand. And so the more supply there is, we absolutely think that will start picking up the demand. So I think all of those factors are going to converge. And yeah, I mean, I personally, I was a huge DoorDash user,
Mhm.
power user, even well before I joined
Yeah.
DoorDash. And I just love the platform. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would do without it. I mean, it would just make my life far less productive if I had to be going around, ordering food. Instead of ordering food, I have to like go out and get it. It's all
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. And like you said, I think the numbers are showing, the 20% year over year growth, adding these different categories. I think that's what backs it
Hmm.
up. And, I mentioned I was a little skeptical of this claim in ride hail. I'm more on your side, though, when it comes to delivery, because I do think there really is, anything and everything that can be delivered. You do save a lot of time. And obviously, the big barrier right now for ordering food or any items is the cost, I would imagine, from the
Hmm.
customer's perspective. So let's drill down a little. I mean, what is the average cost to get something delivered today by a human? And, how does that get reduced, I guess, with autonomy, with the dot solution, for example?
Yeah, so this is a topic, to be honest, I'm not at all that knowledgeable about. I'm a
Mm.
technology person. So I know that's a lame answer to obviously I'm, leading up projects here. But from I don't my understanding is that, like I said, right, the market is gonna grow. So I don't think it's gonna be that's why I don't believe the cost savings is the primary
Mm.
consideration, really. It is that we are simply not going to be able to meet the demand in
Mm.
terms of, if you grow 20% year over year, where are all, I mean, how are you going to provide that
Gotcha.
ability to have that many deliveries. So I don't look at this as a, oh, we can save costs here and save costs there. I really look at it as it, there has to be other avenues by which we can do deliveries,
Yeah.
because at some point, like I said, 20% year over year is not a number that the population is growing at,
Hmm.
so
Yeah. And so I
yeah.
guess you're saying that basically there's only so many available dashers out there. We need, or DoorDash needs these autonomous solutions to fill that
Absolutely.
supply going
Yeah.
forward.
There's no question about that from our point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's focus on the dot a little bit. Maybe you can kind of describe it, and maybe we could even walk through what does a typical delivery look like, kind of from like where are these dots sitting, and then how does the food get into
Sure.
them, and then how does it arrive at a customer's address?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Dot was designed with basically the we looked at all again. This is goes to our advantage where we have literally 10 billion plus deliveries
Right.
worth of data. So we can literally say, and we can filter it by geos and say, okay, in this particular operational design domain, meaning the suburban environments where Dot is primarily operating, that we can look at all of those and go, okay, what does a typical
Hmm.
delivery look like? And that number, and then you don't want to do the median, obviously. You want to be to the 90th percentile or thereabouts, right? So you can do the vast majority of deliveries. And so that was about six large pizza boxes worth,
Mm.
or 3 to 4 grocery bags, depending on how well you pack those bags, etc. So that's your typical delivery that Dot does. And so
So it's
the
pretty
you
big.
just
It can
order.
handle up to, I mean, that's big, right? That's a lot of
It's
space.
it's it's pretty big,
Yeah.
yeah. So we wanted to make sure we could take at least 90% of the deliveries
Okay.
that are on
So
the platform.
take at least
We've done some,
90% of
by
the
the way, there's also
deliveries.
nothing stopping us from using two dots if the delivery is,
Yeah.
it's like 12 grocery bags worth.
Hmm.
We could parcel it among multiple dots. But in general, most deliveries, you don't want to overbuild something either, and that was
Hmm.
kind of why we had to choose that sweet spot. And by the way, we find that perfectly fine as we are doing deliveries already for many months. And then so yeah, you order just like you would, you get an option for a
Hmm.
dot or a robot. And then if you choose it to say yes, then you will based on the order, the dot will wherever. So we'll find the nearest available
Hmm.
dot, route it to you. This goes to the ADP platform we are talking about. And typically either we have a merchant doing the loading, and if the merchant is not doing the loading, we also have roving operators who can just basically the job is to go load up the robots. And then once you get that, and by the dot will pull up all the way to the merchant front door,
Hmm.
to the closest extent possible, and then off it goes. And it's autonomous, heads off to your house,
Yeah.
gets up to, it's a single family home. It'll go all the way to your depending on how your house is laid out. We'll try to get as close to your door as possible, and then yeah, you'll get a notification your dot is here. Come out, and there's your delivery. And
Got it.
it's really not very complicated. It's out there running in Phoenix. Like I said, we have had hundreds of satisfied customers already. So all of this, 2-3 years ago was sort of an idea that we were working
Hmm.
on. Now we are. This is not a pilot program anymore. It is
Right.
absolutely in production, full production.
Right.
Yeah,
So the customer basically opts in or selects this as an option, and then they receive the dot. And the dot, it can go on bike lanes or the street. Is that right? Or the
that's right.
sidewalk?
So mainly it stays in the bike lane,
Okay.
if there is one. If there is no bike lane, it will drive to the right side of the road. If for the sort of the pickup drop off cases, it will go up on sidewalks as necessary. So to obviously for a merchant pickup,
Yeah.
typically most merchant storefronts are on the sidewalk, so you might go there. Sometimes merchants prefer us to be, in a mall, for example. They just
Hmm.
want us to be in the parking spots right next to
Yeah.
the merchant. So it's up to the merchant and what agreement we have with them. And similarly, with on the other side, on the drop-off side, it will go up customers, go up to the customer house. Again, part of it will be on the sidewalk. Yeah, and that's why the form factor was very important to
Yeah.
us, that you can actually make pickup and drop-off as seamless as possible. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the form factor, it sort of seems like it's combining the best of all worlds, sort of nimble but fast.
yeah,
Like you said, it can handle the 90% of the orders on the platform. So, large, basically large, very large orders, it sounds like it can't
right.
handle, which is that 10%. And then I guess also on that note, is there like a percentage of deliveries where it, is too far that it can't do? Or like, how did you
Absolutely. Yeah.
design it? as far as
Yeah.
the actual logistics of delivery, can it handle 100% of deliveries, or where does it fit in there?
No, it cannot. Like I mentioned earlier, right? So it is the Goldilocks robot in many ways, like you said. So not too big, not too small,
Hmm.
and not too, not like overbuilt, and not too slow either. But yeah, Dot has limitations. Dot cannot go up, a 10. It can't. If your order is on the 10th floor and you want the dasher to hand it to you,
Yeah.
well, you use the dasher for that. Drones have similar limitations, right? They need
Yeah.
to drop the order somewhere where there's an open ground. And we are perfectly comfortable with that, right? We are perfectly comfortable with saying, hey, these types of deliveries will not be done by Dot.
Hmm.
And in fact, you'll notice that they tend to be the more complex, more interesting challenge with multiple stops, for example.
Mm.
That's the kind of delivery Dot will probably not do, at least not in the near future. So these are kinds of constraints Dot, we build Dot with saying, okay, if we build something like this, can we
Yeah.
address a decent chunk of deliveries? And it turns out, yes, we can. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
why we
and I
built it.
think DoorDash is famous or infamous in a good way, right, for this strategy of serving the suburban areas, right, and kind of being one of the first delivery platforms to go there. I think that's been talked about a lot. And so I think this
Mhm.
vehicle fits in well with that strategy. And I'm guessing the footprint is there, what percent of deliveries would you say, of that 8 million a day, like what do you think the Dot is the best form factor for, right now?
Well, I wouldn't say the best form factor, but and again, we don't really, as we are scaling the program, we're learning all of
Yeah.
that. So I can't give you a number right now. I'm not trying to weasel out of the
Sure.
question. It's just we think it's going to be a decent, a pretty sizable chunk.
Yeah.
But again, the proof is going to be in the pudding as we scale. Can
Mhm.
can we actually get to those numbers? But it will be, as you pointed out, it's very well suited for the suburban ODD, which is
Yeah.
malls. There are clusters of sort of shopping areas, and then there are sort of residential areas. And you want something, and unlike a sidewalk robot, that distance could be 3, 4, 5 miles,
Mhm.
which doesn't quite work for that form factor. But for a Dot, it just works perfectly well. And
Yeah.
but within that, there might be much further longer distance deliveries at times. The Dot obviously might be, you might consider that maybe it's too slow because it's gonna be, maybe you need something like a highway transportation for that. So that's again goes down to, again, this is why the ADP matters, because this way
Yeah.
we can totally tune what goes where.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of made me wonder, are there any downsides of automation or automating some of these deliveries? I guess you brought up one point that I'll share a story from when I first onboarded as a dasher. I guess it was probably 11 years ago. I think I still have an article on my site. It was in-person onboarding. I think his guy's name was Chris in Orange County. And I remember someone asked a question, do you have to take the food to the door? And he looked at him and he said, buddy, it's in the name. It's DoorDash. You got
Or
to
that,
take the food
yeah,
to the door.
yeah,
So
100%.
I
Yeah,
think that's one thing that obviously the robots, you do have to come meet them on the sidewalk, whether it's a drone. So that might be, I don't know, do you think that's a downside, or are there other downsides or trade-offs that customers or the company has to consider when automating some of these
absolutely. There will,
deliveries?
and not all modalities can do exactly everything the other one can. And of course,
Mm,
you can't beat a human at some level, right? We are, pretty well designed
yeah,
to do lots of the things. So, but again, just to clarify, the Dot, if you, for example, if you live in a single family home, Dot will
yeah,
go all the way up your driveway
pretty
and
close.
bring it
Yeah,
right next to your doorstep. So it is at your door.
it is. It is. There you go.
Correct. But if you're like, if you're on the 10th floor, we haven't
Yeah,
trained Dot to go, press the elevator button and go to the 10th floor. So those are kinds of limitations. And then, but we know that in advance because we know, the address we're going to deliver to, we know what kind of address it is. And so we can just say, hey, those are the deliveries that get filtered out. And that's assigned to obviously a dasher in those
yeah.
cases. So,
Well, and I think that kind of goes to show you because there's probably, we've seen from Dashers, there's some buildings where actually they don't like the Dashers going all the way up to the 10th floor for, maybe security reasons. And so they want you to leave it outside, or they want you to leave it if there's a
that's right.
doorman,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
I
a lot of office
imagine,
buildings have that
yeah,
constraint where they even have an area where, hey, dashers, leave your food there. So yeah, in some of those cases, yeah, or they require residents to come down and pick up your delivery.
yeah,
So in those cases, Dot would work pretty much the same. So it's really up to, like I said, of all those many deliveries, some get assigned to
right.
Dot, some to dashers, some to drones. It's It's up to us from the
And so I
assignment
guess
part.
that's where that ADP, that autonomous delivery
That's right.
platform, really, you guys have all the data. You can kind of
Yeah.
mark, which buildings are which and assign, and, sort of whether it's all of these partners that you have or your own or your dashers, and kind of really do a good job of like kind of air traffic control, but for 8 million deliveries and multiple, maybe dozens of partners and your own vehicles and millions of
It has to be
dashers kind of thing.
automated. There's no, yeah, no way, right?
Yeah.
And again, like I said, it's also optimizing for positioning the autonomous entities like robots. Where do they go afterwards? All of that, you can't have a human do that kind of stuff at all across so many deliveries. So that's why that was built right from the very get-go in parallel with Dot, actually.
Yeah. So definitely a great insight into everything on the business. I kind of want to leave you with one last question for the audience to think about. What should they expect from DoorDash and DoorDash Labs when it comes to autonomy over the next year? When we're talking again, Ashu, in 1 year, what will we be talking about?
Well, I think we're, like I mentioned earlier, right now it's early days, but we're getting to that scaling up part of the growth region. And so I think what you're gonna see is, more solutions for all the deliveries that we're doing. We're gonna make more and more, deliveries more and more accessible. I think one big part that gets left out is you have sort of the big retailers, and you have sort of Amazon and other companies. This what solutions like ADP and Dot and Scale, which we didn't
Mhm.
get much chance to talk about, but Scale is another big part of what we're doing, where you can make sure that the orders, if there are any missing and incomplete, we reduce that factor by a lot. But that Scale can also coordinate that, hey, there's a robot outside, and that you need to go up, load the robot. All of these things, I think, are going to enable merchants, that your local restaurants, your favorite restaurants, will get the power and the same reach as the bigger entities that are in this space. And so, to me, I think that's what I'm personally very excited about, is enabling more and more of the small businesses and merchants out there that can actually take advantage of this autonomy. But yes, I expect, I mean, at the end of the day, I love robots, so my hope is that there'll be a lot more robots out there.
There you go. Well, you heard it here first. Lots more robots in 1 year. And Ashu, really appreciate you coming on. We'll leave a link to a lot of the stuff we mentioned, DoorDash Labs. I know you guys are hiring for some roles. Anything else you want to mention before we sign off?
Yeah, I think if you want to work on some of the most technological, in many ways, the very sophisticated technical problems, in with the same level of state of the art research that other companies are doing on the ride hail space, yeah, feel free to reach out to us. In all the links that Harry's going to provide.
Definitely. Great. Thanks for coming on, Ashu.
Thanks for having me.